Sound.
I mean, Mr. Ross, how you doing?
Must be still on mute.
He must be on mute. Mike Gwen, how you doing?
Doing well, Pastor. How you doing?
Been a while. Good to see you.
It's been a season, but I'm doing well. I see you doing well. You know, I check you out on Facebook most of the time.
Hey, yeah, the wife still let me operate.
Hey, man, that's always a good thing.
And we'll give folks, just like I said, just a couple more minutes to join. So just hold tight.
There was a long line today for COVID-19 testing at this urgent care in Oaks. You fill out a form, a worker runs a test kit to your car, you swab your cheeks and hand it back. But if your insurance doesn't cover it, urgent care will charge you $240. 5 miles away, this CVS in North Hollywood is also offering drive-up testing for free. There is no cost to the patient.
James Rolfe, this is Arna Fulcher. How are you?
Customers are turning to these private test sites because, as the I-Team uncovered yesterday, there have been no appointments available at public sites like Dodger Stadium. Officials say it was because the city and county were moving their appointment system to a new platform.
Those problems are now resolved. The city has made open again a number of testing site blocks, and there are hundreds, if not thousands, of appointments that are available. So
We are just at 9 o'clock. We still have a couple more people, looks like, joining. So let's just hold on another 2 minutes, and then I think we can go ahead and get started to be respectful of everyone's time. And once we get started, I will mute everybody just to make sure that we don't have any background noise or any other distractions or disruptions.
There are 1,250 new cases in the county of Los Angeles over the past 24 hours. 1 out of every 400 individuals in this county have COVID-19 or had it at one point. But as Joel said a moment ago, perhaps the biggest takeaway from the mayor.
All right, everybody, we are about 2 minutes after. Again, want to be respectful of everyone's time. Thank you so much for joining us this evening to talk a little bit more about some of the updates happening in and around the Vermont Manchester mixed-use development, particularly as it relates to Seed LA. We have some updates to provide to you all, and hopefully share some more information with you all that we'll give you some insight into where we are in the process and let you know what to expect in the short and kind of long-term future coming up. So with that, I believe we are ready to get started. 1 second.
Good evening. Hi, I'm Leslie Poole. And just checking first to make sure everyone can hear me. Just thumbs up. Thank you. I appreciate that. So again, my name is Leslie Poole, and thank you for joining us as we give an update on the development of the school and the mixed-use project at the Vermont Manchester lot. For those of you who have not met, again, I'm Leslie Poole. I'm the CEO of the SEED Foundation, and in my 23rd year working with students and families with SEED. SEED is leading the establishment of our 4th school, SEED LA, in partnership with the County of Los Angeles and Los Angeles Metro. And joining me this evening are board members of the SEED School of Los Angeles County, our development team, ex-ed, our project manager, and the architect team of both communities, and the mixed-use development team, Bridge, Primester, and the Coalition for Responsible and Community Development. And so I want to thank all of those members of the team for being here tonight. We also want to give a special thank you to the Empowerment Congress Southeast Neighborhood Council and their president, Mr. Roales, for their partnership and co-convening tonight's event and getting the word out to their membership. And so we just thank you for those efforts. As you know, the person who has been leading the effort in the revitalization of the Vermont Manchester lot is Supervisor Margaret Lee Thomas. He is joining us via a pre-recorded video this evening, and he's also represented here this evening with members of his team, Lacey Johnson and Emily Williams, who have been involved with us, as well as a few others. And so I'd like to play, Woody, if you could play the video from the supervisor now, that'd be great. How we doing, Woody?
Woody, you're on mute, so I don't know if that helps, if that's a problem.
Sorry, having technical difficulties. 1 moment. It's not letting me share. There we go.
There we go. Thank
There
you.
we have it. Okay. Come on.
We did practice this, you guys, so we apologize for technical difficulty.
I don't know why it's not playing here. All right. Let me try something different. It's giving me an issue. Okay. Technology. 1 second. I'm going to try a different way. This does not seem to be working now, of course.
So if we don't get it up in the next minute, Woody, I'll let you keep trying, but I think we also joining us this evening. I'll sort of keep talking and then I'll see what happens. But also joining us this evening is LA Metro, another one of our other partners, and they have been a significant partner in helping us to establish the school. Okay, I'll keep going.
Thank you all for joining us this evening. Typically, we would host this kind of event on site, right at the heart of Vermont and Manchester. However, in an effort to stay safe, quarantine has pushed us to be a bit more creative on how we connect, communicate, and even commune. I want to thank the SEED Foundation for rising to the occasion by organizing this online forum. A special shout out also goes to our community partners, particularly the Southeast and Southwest neighborhood councils. We just passed the 2-year mark since the county was granted possession of the Vermont Manchester site and remain in it for the long haul. We've made significant progress since then, including securing operations funding for the school over the next 15 years. Also appearing before the Los Angeles County Office of Education as part of the charter approval process, and receiving millions in grant funds to support affordable housing development in the mixed-use project. Though we still have much to do to accomplish this, it is appropriate to celebrate these significant milestones. I know that many of you are eager to see construction taking place on the site or are wondering what the final work product will be. No one is more anxiously anticipating this than me. Well, we've assembled the entire team here this evening, both the seed school and the mixed-use developer, to provide a more detailed update and answer all of your questions. I'm very much looking forward to construction beginning this summer. And as we progress, we remain committed to continuing to dialogue with all of you. Thank you again for tuning in this evening. Be safe and be well.
Thank you, Winnie. And thank you, Supervisor. And so, as I mentioned before, also joining us this evening are our partners from LA Metro.
Hello, everyone. I'm pleased to join you in celebrating the success of the Girls Build program and all the Girls Build teams.
So I apologize for the technical difficulty. And we're pleased to have the opportunity to have some remarks tonight by Phil Washington, LA Metro CEO. Before he speaks, we'd like to acknowledge two of his key staff members that have played a role in this work, both Joanne and Maria, who have been literally have made this a priority, and we could not have done this without their support. And so Joanne and Maria, we just greatly appreciate you. And I'd like to turn it over to Mr. Washington.
Yes, thank you, Ms. Poole. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Great, it's great to see you again. And let me also just thank members of my team, Joanne Peterson and Maria Melendez, as you mentioned. And also Supervisor Mark Ridley Thomas. This would not be happening without Supervisor Mark Ridley Thomas. Just very briefly, we are very, very excited at Metro and the infrastructure industry as a whole. One of the things that we have been saying in the buildup for the school is how we can really do something to get our young people right here in LA County and right here in South LA ready to work in this incredible industry called infrastructure. In the early 1920s, the St. Louis Cardinals, led by a guy named Branch Rickey, who actually brought Jackie Robinson into the major leagues in the 1940s, he also created a farm team. And the idea was they were struggling, his baseball team, the Cardinals, were struggling to obtain players that were ready for the major leagues. And so his idea was to create a serious workforce development program called the Farm Team for Baseball. And that's how farm teams started. So they start in the minor leagues, and then they hone their skills, and they go to the major leagues. Well, this is the same concept that we have been thinking about in the field of infrastructure. To create a school that you'll hear about this evening, grades 9 to 12, to get our young people ready to work in this infrastructure space that is going to have so many jobs over the next 20, 30, 40 years. LA County has the largest transportation infrastructure program in North America right now. And so the idea is that we become the transportation center of excellence, and that we would start with our children building their own communities, and they would have the skills and the ability to move around anywhere around the country and work infrastructure. I do believe there's going to be a new infrastructure bill coming out of this Congress, and it's going to be in the trillions of dollars. And so the significant effort in building our career pathways program, and indeed this transportation workforce, is getting our young people, Black and brown kids, to realize they can have a career in transportation infrastructure. So this model, this transportation school and seed school model, really draws from the same basic logic and inspiration that inspired Branch Ritchie's farm team system. The idea to expose, to educate, and to employ youth in the transportation infrastructure, starting with those kids who graduate, starting right at Metro, where our current workforce, about 40 to 50% are at retirement age right now. And so that is the idea, and that is why we are excited about this. That is why we see a great path for this school, and that is why we are embracing the efforts of all of our partners in the community. That's why we're embracing the efforts. That's why we're so happy to have Ms. Leslie Poole that is leading this effort in terms of being the CEO of the Seed Foundation. So Ms. Poole, I'll stop there, but we're very, very excited to hear and to have the audience that's on this call, to include many faith leaders in LA County. We want them to hear about the great plans. So I'll turn it back over to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Phil. Thank you, Mr. Washington. I just want to, just on a personal note, I just want to thank Metro. I want to thank the supervisor's team. This, like, the impact of this work is beyond even what we can imagine. And so I'm excited about the possibilities that are ahead for our young people. The agenda tonight is going to include an overview and an update about the school, a presentation on the design of the campus, and an overview and update from the mixed use development team, the construction schedule, and employment opportunity. And so to get us started, I'd like to introduce the chair of the Seed Los Angeles Board, Ruth Stauffer, who will introduce our other board members and who will provide you with a school overview. I didn't note this, but there will be an opportunity to answer questions later in the presentation. And so Ruth, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Okay, thank you, Leslie. I think you can hear me now. Good evening, everyone. I am so pleased to be here. Okay. And I'm so honored to serve as the founding board chair of Seed LA. The establishment of a seed school in Los Angeles has been a 16-year pursuit for me. I saw a story on the news in 2004 and visited the school. And then after that visit, I was convinced that Seed's innovative model that was delivering extraordinary outcomes for students was an option that had to be available to young people in Los Angeles. I am so happy to have on the board with me 6 other individuals who bring the range of experience needed to oversee the establishment and operation of this school. And I know some of you are on this meeting with us, but I will just introduce us all. Isabella Costa, the Director of Operations for Great Public Schools Now. Rod Hamilton, who is here, a real estate consultant attorney who previously served as a new construction development manager with LAUSD and is a longtime board member of the Los Angeles Educational Partnership. Jackie Kimbrough founded the Children's Collective, which has provided comprehensive educational and family support services for nearly 5 decades. And in fact, one of the Children's Collective centers is located in the Vermont Manchester community, adjacent to the project site. Sarah Ali is here, I know. She is an education consultant with a background in teaching. And during her tenure as a principal, her school was recognized as a California Distinguished School. Sophia Echeverria is a graduate of SEED's inaugural class. She relocated to Los Angeles County after graduating from Princeton and currently works as a production assistant for Ripple Effects, a company that produces software to address non-educational barriers. And then Jennifer Price-Lesher is the Director of Programs and Special Projects at the Ralph M. Parsons Foundation. Hi, board members. Thank you. Many of you have already heard some of the SEED story and the long-term benefits it provides to the students and the plans for this LA school. But Sarah and Sophia are going to briefly recap this information. Then the team will address your questions. We've had some submitted in advance and we'll do those. And then we also encourage you to submit any other questions you may have via the chat function that's on your screen. These questions will be addressed at the end of the design presentation. So now I'm happy to pass this over to Sarah Ali.
Good evening. I'm going to share with you the history of the SEED school, the efforts to establish the campus here in Los Angeles, and the key components of the SEED model. So if we want to go to the next slide, you can see the SEED overview. The first SEED school was established 22 years ago in Washington, D.C., and today has 2 other campuses in Baltimore, Maryland, and Miami, Florida. The mission of SEED is to help underserved students realize their potential and fulfill their dreams of college graduation through a unique college prep boarding school model. This slide provides an overview of our existing 3 schools and the SEED LA school in development. The SEED network exists to change the odds, and the outcomes are proven. Today, the national college graduation rate for the same first-generation low-income youth population SEED serves is 11%. Comparatively, SEED's college graduation rate is 64% and climbing. The graphic on the right illustrates the success of our graduates in completing college. SEED LA will be a college prep boarding school for career readiness in transportation infrastructure, STEM, and the humanities. The school will serve 400 students for 24 hours per day, 5 days per week. The establishment of the school is the result of a unique partnership with Los Angeles County and Los Angeles Metro. In a quest to revitalize the Vermont Manchester lot, which has been marginally used or vacant since the 1992 civil unrest, the county issued 2 RFPs designed to provide a comprehensive development of the site with multiple uses addressing a range of community needs, including improved educational outcomes, affordable housing, and retail uses. The SEED team was the successful respondent to the RFP that solicited a team to design, construct, finance, and operate a STEM school that would prepare and expose youth to the global transportation and infrastructure industry, which expects to create over 778,000 jobs over the next 40 years. Through the leadership of Supervisor Mark Ridley Thomas, Los Angeles County, in collaboration with support from LA Metro and its CEO, Phil Washington, they've committed to multi-year funding to cover boarding and support services. So next, we want to share with you the components of the SEED model that have enabled us to achieve our success and that we intend to replicate here in Los Angeles. With the gift of time, SEED builds a community of support that empowers students to own their educational journeys and to succeed in college and beyond. The 5-day-a-week, 24-hours-a-day operation of the school gives us the opportunity to provide an additional 80 hours of academic support each week. The foundation for the model is a rigorous college preparatory program with the coursework designed to prepare students to gain admissions to 4-year colleges. A difference for the LA school is that it will also include extensive exposure to and experience with careers in the global transportation industry. Other key program features include mental and physical health services, social and enrichment programs, college exposure, and college transition and success services. This slide provides more in-depth descriptions about the model components, and we will be sending tonight's attendees a copy of the slide presentation so you can view those of most interest to you more closely. Because of its critical importance to the 64% college rate that we shared with you earlier, we did want to provide you with a little bit more information about our college transition and success services. We are pleased to have on our board and here with you tonight someone who has experienced these services firsthand, SEED 2004 graduate, Sofia Echevarria, to discuss CTS with you.
Hi, thank you all for joining us this evening. We really appreciate your time. As Sarah said, my name is Sophia, and I'm a graduate from the inaugural class of the first SEED school in DC. As a SEED graduate, I'm excited to know that this opportunity will be made available to other young people who, like myself 22 years ago, can be well served in an intensive educational environment that supports them in achieving their greatest potential. My role and duty as a SEED board member is to represent the interests of the students who cannot best be served in their current schools or perhaps in their current living situations. And I hope to represent what is possible for them. So on this slide, you'll see information about our College Transition and Success Team, or CTS. And this is a component of SEED's model that supports students to and through college. And it extends our programming beyond high school graduation day. By supporting students and their families throughout their college journey, this program sets SEED apart from others in the field and is further detailed in our charter petition. Now, during the students' years at SEED, this support entails pre-college programming, financial education, and college matching. Once the students are attending college, CTS supports continue with college outreach, check-in communications, visits, advising, and professional development. So just want to thank you all again for your time, and I look forward to helping SEED support Los Angeles County students, families, and communities through our unique boarding model.
Thank you, Sophia. At this point, I'm going to ask Leslie Poole and Anita Landecker with XED, who have led the team in developing the petition for the school, to respond to the many inquiries that we have received about the students who will be attending the school, and to answer some of the questions submitted that we have not covered in other parts of tonight's discussion.
Anita, why don't you start, and then we'll take care of the questions that the asked.
I'll do so. And I think there's a slide to go with this. Can you hear me? Yeah. Okay, good. Good evening. I am Anita Landecker, and I'm the CEO of a nonprofit organization called XED that works with, does the financial work and facility work for charter schools in low-income neighborhoods, primarily in Los Angeles County. And like SEED's board chair, Ruth, I've been working on and off for about 15 years to also bring a SEED school to Los Angeles. And I am so thrilled that through the leadership of Supervisor Mark Ridley Thomas and Mr. Phil Washington, this is finally happening. I'm going to talk just briefly about who the students are, and this is who the students have been in the schools that SEED has done, which you can see 80%, and we probably anticipate at least more than that, are first generation college-bound students. And then you can see that most are Pell Grant eligible students, which means they're all low income. We anticipate all the students will be qualify for the federal lunch program. 90% SEED ninth graders graduate from high school. We anticipate even more so at the SEED LA. And 94% SEED graduates enroll in college. And as this is going to be a charter school that, one thing I wanted to be really clear is that this will be a charter school with a petition or from Los Angeles County Office of Education. And the charter school law requires that any student can apply, and that there, in this case, CDLA will have a weighted lottery, and we will prioritize students from the Vermont Manchester community, as well as what is considered resilient youth. So let's see if there's, yeah, so at this point, we could briefly respond to some questions that were submitted to us prior to this event, if that would be helpful. Should we move to that? Just checking, or?
Yeah, so why don't we at least address the couple questions that we had in advance? And I'll just start with one. It was, given the current pandemic that we are experiencing, there was a question about how the school plans to handle a COVID-19 type of situation. And so we want to first say that we believe that since the school will be opening and it will not be opening until 2022, that we have the gift of time during which we believe we are hopeful that the appropriate medical solutions will be developed. But also second, in our first year of operation, we will only have 125 students, and we will actually have the capacity. It'll take us 4 years to ramp up, but within the first year, we'll have the capacity, should we need to follow current CDC guidelines, to actually follow current CDC guidelines in terms of the boarding program. And so that is probably one of the benefits of ramping up slowly. And I think the third response to that question is that our current schools, we believe in the fall, will be in full operation, but we are actually building out various scenarios to both do what we are calling strategic boarding, some rotating boarding, and some boarding and virtual learning. And so we are actually spending time over the next year and a half building out scenarios that would allow us to maintain CDC guidelines in the boarding program. So just to recap, right? Like, we open in 2022, and I think we're hopeful for a medical response or a vaccination. 2, in our first year, we ramp up slowly, and we have the room and the space to follow CDC guidelines with 125 students in that initial year. And 3, we are testing various scenarios in our current schools that allow us to do boarding and virtual. So I think another question, Anita, and I think there's others who may want to weigh in on this question, and it was just about the question about the plans for campus security. And I think, Sophia, do you want to weigh in first, and then I'll cover anything that you don't cover in answering that question?
Sure, I can do that. So we understand the current climate, and of course we want to be transparent about that and our path with that. So it's been SEED's practice traditionally to not have law enforcement on campus. We try to contract with security people, with local security people when possible. But we also understand that there are going to be mandates around security because it's Los Angeles County, and there are going to be standards that we're going to have to follow. So we're going to do our best to do that. But traditionally, we don't have law enforcement on campus. We don't have armed security on campus. And the security that we do have is more so about perimeter security. It's about maintaining the safety of our students and residents on campus, and less about having security or law enforcement presence in learning and residential spaces.
I think that answers it. Anita, you want to weigh in there at all?
No, I think Sophia answered it. It's just perimeter security. Mhm.
And then I think there was one final question, Anita, regarding how will we leverage the history of the neighborhood and how will it be incorporated in the curriculum? You want to take that one?
Sure. I think that it's a really good question. It was just a little premature in the sense that we're not sure how all of it will be incorporated into the curriculum. But a lot of the seed schools, or all the seed schools, have been very intentional in development of their courses to incorporate the community service, understanding the community, understanding racial history and dynamics in the community. And so it will be part of it, but we just don't know how yet in terms of the curriculum. As part of the process for developing the curriculum and opening the school, we'll be looking to hire a head of school who would start next summer. And that person would then fill out the staff and make important curriculum and operational decisions for the school.
Great. And so I think, Ruth, I'm going to turn it back over to you.
Right, so thank you, Sophia, Sarah, Leslie, Anita. Now I would like to introduce to you, we're going to get into the design presentation. And so for that presentation, we are happy to have joining us this evening the architects from the Abode Communities who are leading the design. Joining us this evening are Gio Aliano, Senior Vice President of Abode's Architectural Division, and Pooja Bhagat, Associate Principal Architect.
Thank you very much. Could I get access to I need permission to share the presentation.
You got it.
Okay, see here. Okay. And now it's, oh, there it is. Okay. Allow me to share.
That it is not, or it is?
It's not. When I press, it still says host disabled participant screen sharing.
One moment, I thought I disabled that.
While he does that, can you just sort of walk us through what you're going to share?
And introduce yourself. Yeah.
Yes. Thank you, Leslie. I'm Gio Aliano. I'm Senior Vice President of Abode Communities, and I'm also the Principal Architect of the Architecture Studio. And as it was already mentioned, Pooja Bhagat, our Associate Principal, she's also the director of this project, directing the team. And I think there are also other people on the team on this project. We have worked together, I guess, since 2018 to bring this project forward. And just at the beginning of last year, we started working on schematic design. So this evening, I'm going to share just a few slides, and then we'll have some Q&A where myself and Pooja can sort of jump in and answer your questions. But I'm going to show you kind of the overall concept of the school and how we came about to design the school the way it looks and the way it feels. And then I'm going to show you also some renderings and floor plans that show how the spaces are distributed and how they're organized. Let me try now. Let's see if I'm able to, oh, there, it's working now. Thank you. Okay. All right. Can everybody see the screen?
Yes.
That's very good. So let me go to the next slide. Let me give you a brief site orientation. Most of you are familiar with the site. Those that are not so familiar, you can see on this drawing, you see Vermont right here. Can everybody see my mouse moving? Yes. Okay. There's Vermont, and there's 84th Street, and here's Manchester. The entire site is actually all of this because it includes the mixed-use project, which we're going to hear about in a little bit. But the school site is actually right here, which is right at 84th and Vermont. And then the transit plaza will be located right here, garages here, parking structure, and then the mixed-use project right here. But here is actually another drawing that kind of shows, you know, how the building is organized. Again, to orient you, here's Vermont, here's 84th, here's 83rd, which is going to be closed, and then here's the parking structure, the plaza, and the proposed mixed-use project right here. So the Seed School of Los Angeles County is comprised of educational and administrative spaces on the ground level, with student dormitories and faculty apartments on the upper levels, all organized around a main outdoor gathering space, which you can see on this drawing, the green area, located on the second level, and flanked by a dining hall, which is this piece right here. If you can see my mouse, dining hall right here. Courtyards are provided also on the ground level as organizing elements around which classrooms are located to maximize the natural light and to provide access to outdoor space, and which are these elements right here on the ground level. Administrative offices and a gymnasium activate the ground level and provide a sense of arrival through the ground level courtyard, which is basically this. So this is the main entrance of the school, ground level courtyard, upper level courtyard, and then another ground level courtyard. You see the gymnasium here with a rooftop sports court. The next slide actually gives you a better depiction of the project. You can see the main elements, the dormitories, the administration building, and the sports court, and the main courtyard. So for us, as we began designing this project, you know, we realized that the notion of mobility was really, really fundamental to the site planning concept of the school. It allows the site to be experienced as a campus with multiple ways to move about and give the students and faculty the feeling that they are not in one building. That was fundamental, and it was really a prerogative that Leslie really put forth for us. This notion creates connections and cultivates a greater sense of community while promoting distinguishable experiences, you know, where home, you know, work, play are organized in a manner that provide a great sense of home when the students are in the dormitories, an inspiring work experience, students are in the academic facilities, and a playful and sociable atmosphere when the students are in the common spaces. And you can see all that kind of becomes alive in this drawing. The common space, the dormitories surround the common space, the dining hall, a sports court, and another court here. This drawing is actually fundamental to the concept as well. This is a drawing looking down into the main courtyard on the second level, surrounded by the dormitories, which you see around the courtyard. And for us, you know, to really, really reinforce the idea of individualized home, which was a concept that we had at the very beginning. How do we make this place a home for the students and not feel like a monolithic building with apartments and dormitories? So for us, it was very important to really create an individualized home concept. So the exterior architectural expression for this concept relies on modulation to give each dormitory its own identity. Each dormitory, also referred as a house, contains 6 dorm rooms and common bathrooms with showers and a living room. The living room is the main interior common space for each house, which is expressed on the exterior, as you can see in the drawing, to provide a unique identity for each dormitory. So the idea is that students dwell in the space, they can look up to their dormitory space when they have parents visiting. They can look at their living room and say, hey, Mom, Dad, that's my living room. Oh, that's my friend's living room. So there's a unique identity. Color coding is actually being used, as you can see in more recent renderings, to really create that, to reinforce that even further. So let me briefly walk you through the floor plan. This is a floor plan of the ground level. And as I said earlier, the ground level is primarily the facility, the educational facilities, which is basically all of this. And then we have administration, we have a gymnasium, the hub, which is essentially a resource center like a library, and more classrooms. And you can see on the right, you see more of a detailed version of what these courtyards look like. These courtyards are on grade and they provide lighting to the classrooms. Same thing with this classroom, they get a lighting from this courtyard. Except that this courtyard has another feature, which is really the main entrance to the school. As you enter the school, you will be able to see this courtyard. And then you enter through security and then back into the courtyard to enter the school. This is the main courtyard, the ground floor courtyard that I just showed in this drawing here. So what you just saw is a view standing here looking into this courtyard number 1, which we consider the main entry courtyard. And you can see in the distance, the main stair that takes you up to the 2nd level. That would be the main courtyard. You can see here an entry to the classroom spaces, another stair that takes you up to the main level on the 2nd level. Entry to the gymnasium is right here. And then this glazing right here that you see with the tables, that's actually the lobby. So when visitors come in, they go through security and they're actually sitting in this spaces looking out into this courtyard. And then they're escorted out when needed to tour the school or meet with the students. Again, another floor plan here, color-coded this one, that shows the cream color shows all the classrooms. The blue, the light blue shows right here, shows the administration, you know, the office and the conference room. And again, there's that lobby space that I just showed you where people kind of wait for their students and the faculty, and then they're escorted out or enter the school this way. Here's the main stair to the upper level. Gymnasium, hub for students to sort of sit together and network and work and do projects together. It's basically the library of the school. We have a couple of apartments on the ground level, so there'll be eyes on the street. And then more faculty lounge right here for the faculty to use throughout the day. Here's a view of the gymnasium that kind of shows out. So this door here is the door that goes out to the main courtyard. This window, which we call the oculus, is actually a way to be able to look out into the main courtyard on the 2nd level, and also a way for the students on the 2nd level to actually look into the gymnasium. So there's always this really wonderful connection between the various spaces, so they're always connected. And you can see a floor plan on the gymnasium up above. It's a full basketball court with bleachers and all that. Here's another plan that I want to share, which is actually at the deck level. And so the white area that you see here is the main deck, the main courtyard. And again, you come through here, entry courtyard, you have the apartments on the 2nd level for the faculty. This is the 2nd story of the gymnasium because it's a two-story space. And then here you have the dining hall with the kitchen in the back. This is a fully equipped kitchen, full commercial kitchen. The dining room opens up into the courtyard, so the students and faculty can actually go out and eat in the courtyard. And then you have the dormitories that actually surround the courtyard, and you access the dormitories through these doors there as well, sometimes here. And then there are also some community spaces for the students, which you'll see in the next slide. This one is actually a slide showing the main courtyard on the 2nd level. You can see the dormitories around it. And then to the right, you have a view of the dining hall that opens up into the main courtyard. Here's a couple of views, one showing the dormitories on the right, a typical dormitory room with bunk beds and desks for the students to use for their homework. And then to the left is what I showed you in the plan earlier. These are located in the corners to really take advantage of views, but these are basically the community spaces. Then here's another view of the interior of the dining hall. So what you see in the distance is actually the fenestration that looks out into the courtyard. You enter through these doors, and then to the left is what we call the servery, which is this. This is where the students pick up their food, and then behind the servery, where that red wall is, that is the commercial kitchen that prepares the food and then distributes it throughout the day. Here's another view of the courtyard, the main courtyard. To the left is actually the dining hall. And what you see here in the distance is actually it's a lookout. You look down into the ground level courtyard here. You look through the oculus here into the gymnasium. And then these are apartments for the faculty, and again, have sort of visibility into the courtyard. Okay. And then I'll leave you with this image. This is really the view of Vermont, looking northeast. So to the corner, you see the county building. And then to the right, you see how the building is organized along the Vermont elevation. So the ground level, again, all of this is, these are all classrooms. Here's the main gateway to the school. This is administration. These are the apartments for some of the faculty. These are all the dormitories. There are actually 1, 2, 3, 4 levels of dormitories. And then on the top level, there's some dormitories in the middle, but these here actually are the apartments for the faculty, and there are 20 apartments for the faculty, including 4 over here. And then to the right, you see a view of the plaza, again with fenestration of the apartments. And then to the far right, you get a view of the gymnasium, the windows that go into the gymnasium, again with the plaza to the right. And at this point, I think I'm going to leave you with this image. If there are any questions, we're available. We have Pooja Bhagat on the call as well. She, as I said, she's the project director, and she will be able to answer, especially any specific technical questions. I'm going to defer to her. Any questions?
I have a question. When is construction slated to begin, and has the general contractor been selected?
Okay, Pooja, would you like to take that?
I can take that. So construction is scheduled to begin in November, and we have been working with a general contractor in a design build mode in order to bring the project within cost. So we have a general contractor who is now in the process, or will be shortly, going out to select all of the subcontractors. We've been working with the contractor again with the design build model so that we could save costs and not wait until we got finally designed for a project, but that we know the cost all along and that it was designed within our budget.
So I represent a organization that supports minority contractors, the National Association of Minority Contractors. And I am wondering if what efforts are being made to include minority subcontractors on this project.
Major effort. We have local subcontractor and local hiring requirements in our agreement with the county and with LA Metro. So that process is underway. Again, the contractor is just now reaching out and beginning to enlist bids for the subcontract components of the work.
And how is that being disseminated? I mean, as an organization that is kind of been in this community for a while, this is kind of the first time I'm hearing of it, and we have not received any information about any outreach effort or bid opportunities. So I'm wondering, is it possible that we can be included in that process?
Absolutely, and they're just now beginning to do that work. We've gotten the drawings to 50%, almost ready to 85%. So we've now turned them over to the general contractor where he feels that he has enough information to enlist the subcontract bids for the project. So he's in the process of doing that. And we can get your name and be sure to circle back with you on that process. And I know will be marketing it to the general trade industry, and we're also going to have local jobs coordinators. So that is in our plan.
Okie dokie.
All right.
Who can I contact to make sure that my members are aware of the bid opportunities?
Ms. Love, would you mind putting all your contact information in the chat room to Woody, to our host, so that we can definitely follow up? I don't want there to be any glitch.
Thank you very much. I will do that.
Laura, maybe we should just go on, finish, and then we can take a lot of questions.
Okay.
Just so that we can just get through, don't do any more questions on the architecture, and let's just get through it all so then we can get through the questions.
All right. So at this point, I think we're going to turn it over to the mixed use development team.
Thank you, Laura. Can everybody hear me okay? Give me a thumbs up.
We can hear you.
Amen. Good. I'll take it. First and foremost, I want to thank everybody tonight. My name is Leandro Tyberg. I'm the president and co-founder of a company called Prime Store Development. And we have the incredible privilege and honor of speaking on behalf of the mixed use development team. We are one of 3 developers working on the mixed use project. Our partners in the project are Bridge Housing and the Coalition for Community, CRCD, Coalition for Responsible Community Development. I always get that tongue-tied. Let me just start before I turn my screen over to screen sharing and showing you some information. let me just start by saying how incredibly privileged we are to have the opportunity to speak with you this evening and understand the gravity and the weight of the responsibility that we have in trying to achieve the goals on behalf of the community for this project. We understand that this project has been sitting idle for over a generation. And the sensitivity, the history, the scars that are born within the members of the community are not lost upon us. We began our career exactly 28 years ago after the riots first hit Los Angeles in '92. Our very first project was in South Los Angeles at 6801 Southwestern, in which one of our properties burned to the ground, and as a mission statement, we chose to redevelop it, and we actually built a charter school on behalf of the LA County Office of Education. Here we are 28 years later, a little bit grayer, a little bit balder, having the opportunity to work with such incredible people as Leslie, Anita, Nilura, her board, and everyone at SEED, who so willingly are taking it upon themselves to take care of the kids in our community that need it most. The type of work that they're doing is extremely difficult. And when we began this project in partnership with the team, we very openly called it a noble experiment, because what we are all on this call trying to achieve is no easy feat. But the fact that so many of you, oh my God, over 96 of you, have come out tonight to learn about issues that matter to your community is extremely moving. And the gravity and weight of that is not at all lost upon the development team. With that said, let me go ahead and share my screen to offer a couple more comments and information. Can everybody see that okay?
Yes.
Great. So again, my name is Leandro, and thank you again for everybody this evening, and apologies if there are members of the Spanish-speaking community. Please feel free to reach out to us y podríamos hablar cuando quisieran hablar del tema del proyecto. As I mentioned, we are just one of the 3 co-developers on this project. There's no way we can do this alone. And we specialize on bringing disparate voices to the table to succeed in very complicated public-private partnership projects, focusing primarily on South Los Angeles and our underserved neighborhoods. This is where we began our career, and this is home for us. I prefer not to consider ourselves developers with a capital D. I consider ourselves more as facilitators in order to achieve the goals and needs of the community on this project. And of course, trying to achieve the programmatic requirements that were set forth by the county in their request for proposal that was issued in 2018, in which Bridge, CRCD, and Prime Store submitted our vision for the project and had the blessing of being chosen. Now, this occurred after the SEED School submitted their proposals for their component of the project, and we have been enjoying our experience working with them on coming up with a true campus that really fills incredible amount of needs that we have in our inner city communities. Tonight, we just wanted to provide a very simple update on where the project stands. I wanted to talk just a little bit about our vision. We are not presenting design boards because we have not designed yet the project. We are still taking in an incredible amount of input on the project. And as we get into the scheduling components, you will see that the school's project is going first, and we're going to do everything that we can to help move them along and assist them as they lay the groundwork for a much larger component of the project. The vision that we wanted to articulate tonight is effectively the following components of our goals. Our number one goal is to attract a quality full-service grocer to the site. That has been clear not only from the county's communications, but through all of the site activation events, community meetings, and conversations we've had with stakeholder groups throughout the way. Our goal is to attract quality restaurants and shops to the site. Our goal is to create entrepreneurial incubation spaces where local area residents can create a business. This is something we're extremely passionate about and has spent a long part of our career working in economic development circles and want to bring that to this project here. Our goal is to create about 15,000 square feet of training offices for Metro to create an inviting and safe pedestrian plaza, to provide parking for all the uses for the campus, to create a unique development project that the community can be proud of. And on the residential front, we do have our co-developers in this virtual room tonight. The programmatic goal there is to provide 180 units of quality, affordable housing. Let's talk a little bit about the program for the project as it was directed in the RFP and the program that we are proceeding with. Basically, these are the envelopes that we have to fit within. We have approximately 50,000 square feet of retail that we will bring to the project. 15,000 square feet for the new job training and innovation center for Metro, a highly attractive public transit plaza along Vermont, as mentioned, with 180 units of affordable housing, parking for the project, which will be both structured and underground, and an innovative campus design plan in collaboration with the school. Commitments. Our word is our bond. And we are committed to making sure that we have local hire requirements throughout all phases of our construction. On a note, there's a reason why we put that first and foremost, because that is something that is of extreme importance, both as a company and spiritually for us. We recently had the blessing of working with our co-developers on the Jordan Downs project in Watts. In that project, which we just opened our first tenant earlier this year, our requirement for local hire was 30%. And we actually finished the project just about 2 months ago with a 73% local hire percentage. And I will say, Ms. Love, that we have had a long-standing relationship with your organization. Leonard Loomis is an old friend of mine, and he has drank me under the table with tequila on too many nights that I care to remember. We've had projects built in South Los Angeles for an extremely long time. All of our projects have these components, whether they are required or not by the governing authorities. We will also be requiring local hire for our tenants as covenants within the leases, even after construction is complete. We are demanding a minority business enterprise participation and focus on the project. We do have union participation as a requirement, and we will make sure that all of these goals are held in harmony because of the needs that we want for this project. We would also like to commit to business creation opportunities, access to capital events, SBA loans, technical assistance for entrepreneurs that are interested in creating a tenancy at this property, as well as the many other properties that we manage in Los Angeles. We currently manage about 2.8 million square feet in Los Angeles through many of the largest shopping centers in our inner city communities. And as a result, sometimes the spillover effect of job creation and opportunity, ideally we fill this up and we can try to create opportunities in our other centers or in other opportunities with the community groups. We are committed to ongoing plaza activation, marketing, branding, and events. We want this plaza to feel like home. To that end, we've spoken with community members about potential government community organizations that are willing to use the plaza for expressing their voices, for local music to be performed, potentially poetry events as we're doing in Watts, and other community-led programming opportunities that will activate the site. We want this to be a safe environment. We are absolutely committed to that. We are not only a part of the development of this project, but we will be managing the property afterwards, and therefore we are designing for the long term. We are committed to ongoing community outreach, and we will be creating a community action committee for this project, of which your organization will be invited to participate and have members as a key part of the leadership. Mostly, we're committed to honesty and doing the very best that we can. Even though we are based in Los Angeles, we've started in Los Angeles and we consider this our home, we have to respect that everywhere we build, we are guests in your community. We need to learn and hear from you and make sure that we are achieving the goals set forth to the best that we can. And we are a bit of an open book when it comes to that. Finally, we wanted to very simply highlight the schedule related to the mixed use component. This is not the school, this is our component. In the fourth quarter of 2018 is when the RFPs were awarded and we signed a preliminary non-binding agreement with the county. In the third quarter of this year, our goal is to sign our ground lease with the county. Our goal is to start construction in the third quarter of next year, in 2021. And we're effectively estimating about a 2-year construction project so that we would theoretically complete construction in the third quarter of 2023. And again, we will not be departing the project at any time. Those are simply the construction phases, at which point we will begin the implementation of the tenant build-out phases and making sure that the local hire components are adhered to as well. Next steps. We want to continue to get feedback from the community. We will be setting up another meeting with your group to show you the progress of design concepts, similarly to what Gio and his amazing team have put together tonight. And the creation and implementation of the Vermont-Manchester Community Action Committee. With that, I'd like to say thank you and gracias, sinceramente. I will stop sharing my screen and I will pray that you guys don't all start yelling at me.
Hey, Laura, why don't you start? Why don't you finish up and then we'll take a few questions.
Thank you, Leslie, and thank you again, Leandro, and your team for joining us this evening. Again, my name is Laura Bell, and I work with XED, and I'm the Director of Facility Financing, and we just wanted to share 2 last pieces of information with you this evening. And one of them is so that you'll know what's going on the site. And there will be workers beginning to show up in a couple of weeks, around July 15th, to begin what we call the pre-construction utility work. As you know, on the site, we have some very old utility lines overhead. And in order to prepare for us to begin construction, the utility companies need to come in beforehand so that they can take those utilities, take the poles down that are existing and move the utilities underground so that we have modern utility infrastructure when we begin our construction. So they'll be out in a couple of weeks. It'll be DWP, AT&T, Spectrum, the utility companies. So you'll see them, and that work will happen between July and November of this year. After they complete their work in November, then the general contractor for the school will begin to start construction on the site. And the school has a 22-month construction period, which would make the school complete in August of 22, the school campus complete in August of 22. And then the last update I wanted to share is just about the employment opportunities that we will be available through this project. For construction of the school facility, there will be an estimated 150 jobs. And in response to one of the earlier questions, we also mentioned that we do have a local hiring requirements, and then our community and outreach will start late summer, early fall, in that way. And then the other part of the employment opportunities for this project are the school itself. The school itself will create 92 jobs at full capacity. I think there's a next slide on that, Woody, at full capacity. So in the first year, we will have 30 employees on site. And then we build to 92 when we have 400 students. And there you can see a breakdown just of the certificated employees, which are the teachers, the administrators who have to have their credentials in order to teach the students. But other jobs that we will have on campus will include IT, administrative support, and the dorm component will have residential advisors and student counselors will make up a large portion of the employees for the dormitory component of the program, the boarding component. And then in addition to those 92 employees of the school, we will also be enlisting proposals for third-party contracts for other school operational support, such as food services. Like you saw in Gio's presentation, we will have a dining hall and serve the students 3 meals a day plus snacks. So we will need a full service food service company, as well as security and janitorial services that we will enlist proposals for in 2020, the beginning of 2022. So that concludes what we had for this evening, and I think we're going to turn it over for questions that have come in.
Thank you very much, everybody. There's been a couple questions that have come in through the chat line. And again, just want to reiterate that we have the chat closed just to minimize any unexpected or inappropriate disruptions, not necessarily to restrict or hinder communication throughout the community. Obviously, we're all trying to adapt to this virtual reality. And so just being cognizant of that, I did just want to acknowledge that that is the reason that the comments are closed, not in any reason or any way to prevent anyone from being able to share out. So with that, there was a question about college graduation rates. I believe Sarah spoke to that earlier, but SEED, the network graduates about 3.5 times the national average. So about 38% of our students graduate from 4 universities. And then based on our CTS methodology, what we've identified as green schools, based on that CTS methodology, the number is actually about 64%. So again, about 5 times what the national average is for peer students in that kind of same bucket of students there. There was also another question that came in about representation from the Vermont Manchester neighborhood in the development of the school. Nilora or Leslie or Anita, did anyone else want to speak to that one in particular?
Leslie, are you trying to say something? Sorry, I didn't.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
The question is, so what is the question? The construction or?
Well, as it was phrased, it was there'll be representation for the Vermont and Manchester area in the development of the school. So I'm not entirely sure if they're talking about the construction or if they mean just an actual development of the school. Unfortunately, I did not get a name. There's a bunch of people that have the same name, so it's hard for me to respond
Okay,
exactly.
let me just respond. So there are a couple things that I think we should do as a follow-up conversation. And Anita and Nelor and Ruth and board, if you're open to this, I actually think we should do a follow-up meeting where we actually lay out all of the jobs available at the school and talk through what those job descriptions are, so that we can just be super transparent, and then also talk through the timeline for hiring for all positions that will be working at the school. So that might, and that's something we could probably do probably in the next 45 days or so, just to lay out all roles and the timeline for hiring for everything that is associated with the school. And I think the other thing we can actually do, so we can do all things employment. I think at the same meeting, we can do all things admissions and enrollment. And so that way we can go into great detail on those two items. Anita?
Yes,
Ruth?
I think that makes sense. I think because they require kind of in-depth discussion, so that makes sense.
Agreed.
And along those lines, and I think you spoke to it to some extent already, Leslie, but there was another question that just came in about will the staff reflect the community? Will teachers from the community be hired, and will the curriculum be culturally relevant?
So the answer is yes. And again, yes, not only because it deeply aligns with what we believe, it also aligns with our practice. And I think we would love the opportunity just to sit down and share all of our hiring plans and the hiring schedule with everyone. And yes, to culturally relevant, both in reflecting the culture and the community.
There are also a couple of admissions related questions. One,
Yes.
I think there's just a question about the overall admissions process, and then there are some more specific questions about will undocumented students allowed have the opportunity to be in the school? Will this also be marketed through to LAUSD parents and not just throughout the county?
Woody, let me just start there.
Hmm?
No, don't give me any more questions for a second.
Yeah.
The school is open to all students in California, and we will do aggressive outreach to as many families as possible. Obviously, we do want there to be more than adequate and sufficient representation from the neighborhood. I will say that our current schools, our students come, so in our current school in DC, our students, 2/3 of our students come from the surrounding community. And so, yes, so we will do aggressive outreach to families. It's open to all students. I feel like there was a third question that I don't remember.
DACA.
Yeah, or undocumented.
Yes.
The answer is,
so my first statement of it is open to all students.
Right.
And so I think that speaks to, there were other questions specifically about will the school still target foster youth, or I think we spoke about how resilient youth, but there were questions about were we still targeting foster youth or students who had interactions with the criminal justice system.
Anita, you want to take that one?
sure. So this will be a weighted lottery. That means, and it'll be weights on several things. First, get extra weight if a student in the Vermont Manchester community. Also, and these are just, imagine a box that you check mark. If you're homeless, if the student is homeless or housing insecure, if a student has been in some way touched by the Department of Children and Family Services, not necessarily technically in foster care, but somehow connected or touched. If a student has an immediate family member incarcerated, and if a student has had some contact with the probation system. And, but those are just extra, imagine just extra weights in the lottery. Also, the school will be co-ed, and so evenly divided between those who identify as male or female, girls and boys.
I know we can. I'm sorry, go ahead, Woody. Let me not take your role. Go ahead.
So there were also questions related to classroom size and student-teacher ratio.
Laura, can you speak to that? Because I think, can you speak to with how I think we built it. Let me just say, historically, our student-teacher ratio literally ranges anywhere from 15 to about 25, 20 to 7 students. I think that our student-teacher ratio is going to land, Laura, I'm looking at you.
You're looking at me, and yes, we did a 1 to 20 ratio is what we did in our budget model.
Thank you. Someone else asked a question about how will students, what remedial programs will be available to allow students to catch up. So obviously, I think that means that we need to also have another conversation when we have completely built out the curriculum to share. But let me, I won't actually be able to speak to the exact program that we will use. But let me say we actually use several intervention models, several intervention models, and use the gift of time. And so actually starting this past Monday, there are a group of students who actually started a summer intervention and so we use the clock differently. Some students will have opportunity earlier in the morning, in the afternoon, but we use the gift, the 24-hour clock, to close those gaps. We actually deeply believe and know that young people are going to come to us with those gaps. And so so just in terms of some of the interventions we use Readers Writers Workshop. We actually heavily rely on sort of understanding sort of the Fontes and Pinnell system so that students can own their own reading levels and understand sort of what it's going to take to move from one level to another. We use an intervention model that's designed by Eureka Math, but the Los Angeles school will actually select some of its own intervention models, and we'd be more than willing to share those as those come online. But we use an entire clock to close those gaps, both across the day and across the week.
There are a couple more questions coming in specific to the boarding model. One, considering the other charter schools in the area, what value will SEED as a boarding program provide? And then 2, I think there's questions about the logistics about how students will kind of check in and out on the weekends. And also, I think related, not necessarily to the boarding model, but related to the proximity to the shopping center, how will they ensure security around the perimeter?
I will take some of the boarding model questions and let someone else weigh in. So in terms of value added, what SEED is a school of choice. I think it's really important to note that we believe that, I think Sophia actually, Sophia picked us.
Yes.
Right? She convinced her mother, right? And in some cases, parents pick us and they convince their young person, or it's a family decision, but it is a school of choice. And I think that, like, we all know something about our young person that we think that this school might actually be a great option for that school, for that student. And so I think that it's important to note that we're a school of choice, that students will pick us, parents will pick us. Sometimes school counselors actually recommend to a family that this might be a really good fit for their young person. There are various reasons. I'm one of 5 girls, and my mom picked a separate school for me because she knew something about me that my very small school would help me, right? And it helped me to develop. And so I think it's a school of choice. And in terms of how we complement, we actually do believe we're a complement to the surrounding schools, and that and that we're a school of choice, and families actually choose us because they actually believe we're a good fit for their young person. I think the other thing is that we deeply believe that that we're a good partner with families, and that we really work to we believe in that young person, and we believe in what they believe in that young person, and we want to work with them. I feel like there was a middle or question. Oh, checking in, checking out. I apologize, you guys. My bedtime is like at 9:15, and so I had coffee late tonight, and so I'm a little like wired. Oh, because I'm in DC. I should say that. I'm sorry. I'm in Washington, DC, and so obviously I'm a little past my bedtime. So kids check in, students check in on Sunday. So typically students check in in the later part of the day. We actually try and make it late enough in case a family has a faith practice that they can actually exercise that faith practice, or if they just have family time they want to spend together, but they check in the early evening. And typically so that we can all prepare for school, and they can sort of finish up homework, maybe have a meal together, maybe do an activity together, but young people check in on Sunday evening, and then they check out on Friday afternoon. Check in, check out looks different in every school. In Miami, they actually check out at 1 p.m. Because Miami is like Los Angeles, the footprint of it is huge. Some kids live 2 hours away. And then we actually transport students from school. If they don't live in the surrounding community, we transport students to some local meeting place where families either pick them up or take public transportation home.
There was a question about the cost of attendance, and just as a public charter school, there is no cost to the families to attend the school. That is all covered by public funds. There are also questions here about what outside agencies will service the youth and cultural specific services will be available to the students, what type of support for Spanish speaking students, and then what other current local organizations have been reached out to. So I know those are kind of all over the place there, but
yeah. Arna, can you unmute yourself? I see you out there. You go. Yes. Arna, can you talk a little bit about some of the organizations we've reached out to? And 1 second, and let me say that the organizations at the school, we will hire the head of school. We will identify the head of school probably by next spring, and they'll come on full time by next summer. One of the reasons for that early identification is to ensure that we are building relationship with local community organizations for the school. So we have done informational outreach over the last year. And so Arna, if you could sort of list some of that, just speak to some of the community organizations we've spoken to.
Hi, thank you, Leslie. Yes, what we did is we've done interviews with most of the partners that are immediately surrounding what we call the inside border of the facility, which takes us as far west as Normandy, as far north as Florence, and we're coming back to the south to Broadway, and going as far over to the 110 freeway. So we have reached out to every high school and every middle school and elementary school in that inside border. And we've met with the principals. We've had one-on-one meetings with them. We've also reached out to the faith-based initiatives that have welcomed us to meet with them, to share with them about the program and how we can be a partner from a faith-based perspective, and sharing information that can go home with the students, as well as the local individuals who work within the community. We've also reached out to some of the local 501c3 and community-based organizations immediately adjacent to the property, as well as going to our local empowerment Congress groups and sharing with them the information. We've also talked to the local businesses that are surrounding the community of the school, met with the business owners, had them come out for our informationals. The West Athens Task Force, along with the Girls Club of Los Angeles, are two of the major partners that have consistently worked with us to make sure we keep the community-based organizations informed on what is happening right there in that general vicinity of what we call the inside border. We are still meeting with individuals to share upcoming information. So this conversation hopefully will spark more groups that want us to come out and share with you things that are moving forward and how you can stay connected on the project. South LA by South LA and COCO have both also been partners with us. We've attended their meetings regularly up through February. Since COVID has been in place, those meetings have been held virtually, but South LA by South LA has also added all of our information to their digital platform, and COCO has also agreed to continue to put any literature that we have right there counterside so that you can walk into that location and get any updated information or brochures or flyers that we offer.
Just watching the clock here, I think we have about 2 minutes, but there was a question a couple questions that I want to address to Ruth about the board. I think Ruth spoke to early on kind of the composition of the board and introduced the members, but there is questions about how do they ensure community representation, and then how does the community hold the board accountable or get in contact with the board if they would like to express some concerns.
Okay, thank you. So right now our board is small. There's only 7 of us in total, and the intention is to grow our board to include more community members, stakeholders, so that there's already a plan in place to grow. To reach out, I think Woody, you will probably be posting, making your information available, and we will be, because of the Brown Act, there are certain things we have to abide by. So the best way to reach us at the moment would be through Woody, and I'm sure he'll be posting his information. But we do want to reflect the neighborhood and the community and the people that we are serving, and we fully intend to do that. We needed to put our board together to keep this process moving. And so we plan to participate in, as Leslie mentioned, some of these ongoing community meetings. And so we are absolutely open to speaking with everyone, and we encourage you to reach out to us, and we're going to work with community stakeholders to make sure that our board does reflect the student body properly, and that we reflect the moment as well.
Hey, Woody, I'm sorry, a couple of things before we actually, do we have an email address for everyone that's on the call tonight?
Yes, if they registered through the link, they provided an email.
Great.
So I can send this out.
Yeah, so, well, I want to do a couple of things. I want to make sure we create an information email so that we actually, there is one place that everyone is sending communication. And I actually, so let's work on that. And then let's commit to actually figuring out when we will do another information session. Is Lacey still on the call?
Leslie.
Yes.
Do you want to say, before we jump off, I want to make sure if you have anything you want to add or share.
Yeah, no, thank you. I'm glad that we are doing this evening. There's obviously a lot of community interest and engagement happening here. The supervisor, sorry he couldn't make it this evening, but we will be participating in future sessions as well. Thank you to the team for hosting.
And, 1 second, I believe Mr. Washington had another comment.
Perfect.
Yeah, hopefully you all can hear me. Can you hear me, Leslie?
And yes, sir.
Well, yeah, so a couple of things very quickly. First of all, I want to, Woody has done a great job in facilitating all this. So I want to thank him and the logistical people, and Leslie, you and others. A couple of quick things. Culturally relevant instruction. Absolutely. Absolutely. As we move forward to Florida as well, which will be hopefully history then that this doesn't happen again. The second thing I would say is this idea of infrastructure and teaching these kids infrastructure tied to language, tied to foreign languages being taught in the curriculum, I think is very important because infrastructure is everywhere. And we want to provide our kids the ability to go anywhere in the world and work on infrastructure. So that is very important, I think. The third thing is contractors. What our plan is for contractors to be required, just like a small business goal, right? Contractors will be required to take a percentage and hire a percentage of these graduates. We're going to make it on the metro side, and I've talked to other infrastructure entities, Public Works and others, to make it a requirement to bring these young people on for internships and everything with a goal just like a small business goal. The fourth thing is this is about the kids. We are going to make sure that there's minority participation in the building and the designing and all of that. And Leandro, I appreciate your presentation talking about that. But at the end game is to get our kids, mostly kids of color, ready to go out into the world, graduate from college, work in the infrastructure space. That is, that outweighs many of the things that we're talking about now. We're talking about at the complete build out, almost 500 kids in this school. So I think that is a big thing. So kids are the thing, kids are the objective, successful kids here. And the last thing I would say is even in the COVID-19 financial devastation that we are all experiencing, Metro 2, this project continues. That's how important it is for the county. That's how important it is for LA Metro. I talked to the chairman of the House Infrastructure and Finance Committee, Mr. Peter DeFazio, a couple of days ago. He is interested in this. He wants to include language in this, in the next transportation reauthorization bill, as an example of what we can do in especially communities of color to get them ready to build infrastructure in this country. And so this is God's work. This is a righteous effort. And so I want all of us to do what we need to do to get this school off the ground. And in time, we will see kids 15, 16 years old walking down the street talking about design build, walking down the street talking about public-private partnerships and design bid build and building stuff. So this is very exciting to me, and I want to thank everybody for being on the call tonight to get the information.
Well, I know when to end a thing. And so if I was at church, I'd say amen. But and have a great evening. Stay tuned. And thank you for your time. And thank you for your patience and your partnership. You know, I've been taught never to despise small beginnings, right? And if we keep sowing, the harvest is going to be amazing. And so we will talk with you soon. Be well, be safe, and just be healthy and continue in the good work. Thank you, Bill. Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Can you folks stay on, please?
Okay.
Good night, everybody. Thank you very much.
Good night. Good night, Mr. Williams, Patricia. Good night.
Thank you, Leslie.
Go to bed, Leslie.
Good